welcome to Mr. Paul's Pantry. I'm Mr. Paul, and today we're going to make a festive turkey and cranberry and orange pie. Okay? If you're new here, very warm welcome. If you're returning, nice to see you again. Anyway, let's get on with it. Here we are then, the ingredients for the turkey, cranberry and orange pie. Now the first thing is the turkey. Now I'm using fresh turkey. I don't like to use leftover cooked turkey, although you can if you want to do that. I don't usually have leftover cooked turkey anyway, because I don't cook a turkey at Christmas anyway. So I bought a piece of solomillo, as we call it here, and it's like a pork fillet, except it's from the turkey. Comes like that, vac packed, and it's absolutely no fat at all. So that's 250 grams, by the way, or give or take. And because it's got no fat, we have to add something with some fat to it. Now I'm adding sausage meat today. And this sausage meat is some I made myself. There is a link to the video underneath if you want to make it yourself. Or you can buy a nice quality sausage meat from your local butcher. So that's 250 grams as well, and that will give the moisture to the turkey breast, to the turkey fillet. Okay. We also got the zest of half an orange. We've got the juice. The zest of a whole orange. The juice of half an orange. 50 grams of dried cranberries, which I've plumped up in a little hot water for about 15 minutes and then drained them and let them dry. I purchased those like that in a packet. In my supermarket, they're along near the nuts and things, and they're very easy to see. And the seasoning is 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. Now all these ingredients are listed underneath the video. Don't worry about it. You can write them down afterwards. And that's all for the interior of the pie, for the filling. Now we come to the pastry. I'm going to use this for my pastry. It's the same pastry I use for my pork pies. It's called a hot water crust. Now it's difficult to explain how to make it without actually showing it. I don't want to go through another video. There's already one underneath there for my pork pie recipe, and this shows you exactly how to make this pastry. It's boiling water, flour, a little bit of salt and lard, nothing else. Now it has to go cool. You can't use this pastry whilst it's warm. This is cooled overnight, either cool it in the fridge or just leave it in a cold kitchen, and it has to be like this, like plasticine or modelling clay. Can you see that? It needs to be nice and pliable. Remember, you can't use that warm. So these are... That's my dog attacking somebody. So these are the ingredients for the pie, and let's get on with making it. Okay, so first of all we're going to cut up the turkey. Now we need to cut this into reasonably small pieces, but I don't want it as small as mincemeat. We need some chunks of... Just remove that little bit of membrane there, just a moment. And if you can see the size of that, but those are the type of pieces that I'm looking for. You see that? Those pieces like that. So we'll get this cut up and then we'll carry on. So here we've got the turkey finished, all cut up into nice small pieces. And as I said before, because it's a very fatless piece of meat, it's very, very lean. Now you know why most roast turkeys at Christmas, the breast's as dry as sawdust. That's because there's no fat. I'm going to add in the sausage meat that we made ourselves. And remember, You can make your own sausage meat, or you can buy a nice variety from the local butcher. So that goes in there, and then we need to put in the orange zest, the seasoning, which is nutmeg, salt and white pepper, the orange juice, and we'll give that a mix, a little mix to start with. Just to start it off. And now we'll add in the 50 grams of cranberries, which, as I said before, I did just plump up a little bit so they weren't hard and dry, with a little hot water, just for about 15 minutes. So this needs to be mixing now until it's all distributed. Don't think it's mixed now, because don't forget the seasoning that's in there has to be distributed throughout. And remember also what I said, be careful with the seasoning, because your sausage meat will already have some salt in, it will already have some pepper in, and it will have other things like the nutmeg and things like that, depending on what variety you've purchased. If you want a nice spicy one, you could always add some Cumberland sausage meat, and that will really give it a nice kick. Now there's the mixture all ready to go. We need to leave that in the fridge now for about 20 minutes while we sort the pastry cases out. Now when it comes to deciding how much filling you're going to make, you can adjust the recipe to suit whatever tins you're going to make it in. I'm going to show you how to do that. You might have a large tin, you might have a smaller tin, and what you do is this. You take your tin, whichever tin you're going to use, and fill it with something like beans or rice or something like that, to within a reasonable distance of the top where the pastry is going to go on, and then weigh the contents. And if you weigh the contents of that, whatever it is in grams, if you divide that in half, half should be the weight of the pastry, half should be the weight of the filling, 50-50. Okay, that includes the lid and the base. So that's the way to decide. So if it's a larger tin, you put more rice or beans in and weigh that, and that will tell you how much you're going to use. Okay, now I'm using the hot crust pastry that I use for my pork pies, as I explained to you earlier. And this was made and left over, like we do in the bakery. We always left it overnight for the next day, because you cannot work with this pastry when it is warm. And as long as it finishes up like this, like plasticine or modelling clay, it's good to go. All right, so what we need to do is get a rolling pin. We don't use any flour with this kind of pastry, that's very important. So let me just get some pastry. So remember, when you decide how much is going into there, you need to weigh the pastry, and it's the same weight as the filling. Well, I happen to know that this is going to take 190 grams of pastry, and the same as the filling. Okay, so let's see this. So 150 there, 160 should do the base, and then the rest I'll use for the lid. Always roll backwards and forwards, away from you and towards you. Don't try turning always turn the pastry, not your rolling pin. And just like when I make the pork pies, we're going to roll it like this, and then when it goes into the tin, we're going to then mould it up the sides of the tin into the bottom. You see that? And now I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to squash that into the corner at the bottom and pull any thick pastry up to the top. I don't know if you can see how I'm doing that, can you? I'm actually pulling it up with my thumb towards the top of the tin. And we need it to come right to the top, because don't forget, we've got to have something up there to stick the lid onto. We can't stick the lid onto nothing. So off we go, and we don't want to keep this too thick. We need to keep it quite thin, really. There's nothing worse than a pork pie or a game pie or something like that with a great big thick crust. There we are. That's all ready to go. So now we come to the filling, and it should be 190 grams. I'm not going to bother weighing it. I'm just going to put it in until it comes reasonably near to the top, which should be near enough 190 grams. You'll never get it exact anyway, so that doesn't matter. Put a little bit more on there. And don't pack it down too tight, but just make sure it goes into the corners. There we are. And now we come to the lid. And I'm going to do something a little different with my lid for this. You can do what you wish, but this is what I'm going to do with mine. Just make sure it's big enough like that. Well, I'm going to wet round the top of my pastry case with a drop of water, and then I'm going to open up my lattice like this. If it's cut right through, some places it isn't cut through properly, never mind. I'm going to lay the lattice on top. Then I'm going to trim round the tin. Take off the excess. And then I'm gently going to just crimp that lattice onto the edge of the pie case, just to make sure we've got a good seal. Just gently. And there we have it. I'm going to egg wash the top now, and when that's cooked it will take probably about 50 minutes, maybe 50 or 55 minutes at 180 centigrade. And then we'll do exactly like we did with the pork pies. I'll show you how to make some gel, which will go in and fill all the cavities inside where the meat shrunk and hold it all together. I'll be back when it's out of the oven. Okay, now here's the finished product. There they are. Absolutely delightful. Very, very hot at the moment, of course. So I'm just going to let them cool, take them out of the tins, and I'll be back as soon as that's happened. So to do this, we need some gelatine, and I'm going to use 3 sheets of this type of gelatine today. Sometimes I use the powdered sort. I just happen to have some of these. So I'm going to use 3 sheets of this, and we're going to have 250 mils of chicken stock. This is cold water, and these sheets of gelatine go into here in the cold water for 2 or 3 minutes until they're nice and soft. It'll only take 2 or 3 minutes. Right, once these have softened, what we need to do is gather them and just squeeze out the excess cold water and pop them into the hot chicken stock and stir them round to dissolve. They'll dissolve almost instantly. You don't have to worry about that. There they are. They're dissolved inside now. Now we need the pies. And as you can see, these have cooled off nicely. They're looking very, very tasty. Gently pour this into the pie, making sure it's going to fill the cavities where the meat has shrunk down as it's cooked, and I found a little space at this side where it's going in nicely, and it's coming up to the top now. It's come right up to the top there, I can see it. I'm just going to put a little bit in those cavities in between the lattice. Same on this side. This gel is going to go in. It serves 2 purposes. It keeps the meat inside moist, and it also, when it sets, holds the whole thing together. So when you cut the pie, the meat, because it shrinks inside when it's cooking, it would roll out otherwise and leave you with the pastry in your hand. So there we are. We're just going to put those to one side now, and then I'll decorate them, and I'll be back when that's done, and I'll see you later. So next, we're going to decorate the top of the lattice. First of all, I've got 1 or 2 cranberries in here. These are fresh cranberries, by the way. These, well, they're frozen. I'm going to put some of the gelatine in there with them. It's just starting to set now, so that's nice. And I've got some orange here, and I'm just going to dip that into the I'm dipping that into the gel. I have a couple of leaves from my orange tree here. I'm also going to dip into the gel. Like so. That's not going right, that one. Tip it that way a little bit. There we are. And then I need to place these cranberries very, very gently around here. There we are. That's the first one, and I think you'll admit that does look very, very nice indeed. Now the next one. And what I'm going to do with this one now, I've mixed some cranberries with the gelatine in here, and I'm just going to drop one. These are the dried cranberries, by the way. I'm just going to drop one in each of the indentations in the lattice. Just like that. Just so it looks nice and decorative. There we are. I think that looks very, very nice now. Right, before we have a taste though, I'd like to just say if you've enjoyed the video, when we finish, go underneath, give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. If you have any comments, questions or suggestions, leave them there. I do read them all and I try to answer as many as I possibly can. If you haven't subscribed already, press the subscribe button and at the side you'll see a little bell icon. If you click on that bell, YouTube will tell you every time I put up a new video. You won't miss one. Okay, so now let's have a taste. It's been cooling in the fridge now for a good couple of hours. It's nice and solid. The pastry is nice and crisp. And I'm going to just take a slice out here and see what the results are. We have it, a nice piece of turkey, cranberry and orange pie. So this is Mr. Paul saying bye for now and I'll see you next time. But in the meantime, I wish you a very happy Christmas wherever you are in the world. I know it's going to be a difficult one, but enjoy yourself, but stay safe. Bye for now.